Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Guinness World Records Gamers Podcast. I'm your host and gaming editor here, Mike Plant, and with me is our gaming records manager, Luke Wakeham.
Hello.
And our pair of freelance gaming journalists, Jack Turner and Andy Luckley.
Hello.
Before we start, this is going to be our E3 special. Be excited. That means we won't be doing our usual sections. We're just going to dig right in because we're basically going to try and do everything, all of the shows in an hour, dare I say. Maybe a little over.
You're crazy.
I am crazy.
It'll never work.
I know.
It's impossible.
I know.
It's like everything you need to know condensed into a pithy hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, let's get on with the show. All right, where to start? Obviously with Xbox, who kicked off on Sunday at 9 p.m. UK time. I don't know what time that is in America. It varies by state, I guess.
And we should have probably a quick recap that this is the year that Sony is fallow.
Oh, of course,
E3.
yeah. I mean, actually, before we do kick off, Death Stranding trailer, we haven't really commented on that, but it looks insane and quite good.
Yeah, but actually, I'm really into it, actually. I'm looking forward to it. And that made me go, ooh, I'm more interested. It feels more like a game now. And it looks interesting. I think I'm not bothered. People are like, I don't know what it's all about, but that doesn't bother me. There's so many games that are so obvious and cookie cutter.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
something a bit like.
I think Metal Gear Phantom Pain, if anything you can draw from that is that just a good gameplay loop is enough to keep people going. That game made no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I played it for 45 hours, no idea what happened.
However, I did have fun firing it into.
Did you like the ladder bit? I mean, I don't know why they spent so much time on extendable ladders.
Like,
you can get a ladder out.
It's all about building bridges or something. I think Jeff Bridges will figure quite
building strands
and bridges, connectivity.
Nice.
Anyway,
I suppose we should also say as well as Death Stranding, Sony did reveal quite a lot of details about its next-gen console ahead of time, presumably preempting what Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in a shootout at the moment, aren't we? Like a great silent shootout, it feels like. So Xbox basically had E3 to be its own thing, to take it over. And well, let's wrap up at the end what we thought of it. They kicked off with The Outer Worlds. This is by Obsidian, who made Fallout New Vegas, of course, and lots of other RPGs. Xbox has since bought, or Microsoft, however this thing works, have since bought Obsidian. However, this game, I think, is staying cross-platform.
It is multi-platform, yeah.
It's coming to all platforms on the 25th of October, so it's coming out quite soon. Looks really good. It's like a colourful Fallout, basically.
Yeah, I'm really into this.
With,
I mean, basically...
Mass Effect, spacey overthrows.
Kind of Borderlands-y as well. Yeah. Type of tongue-in-cheek humour.
It looks like basically they've gone Fallout New Vegas, right, that worked well for us.
Yeah.
Let's do that again.
I'm a little confused why they kicked off the show with this when they could have tried, done it with Gears 5, which when we get to a little bit later was a little underwhelming when they got to it and felt a little bit buried. But
maybe because it's coming out soon.
Yeah.
Maybe, and because they wanted to show off their shiny new acquisition, I suppose, in Obsidian. But as I say, I'm rattling through these, so, Bleeding Edge was the next one, Ninja Theory's 4x4 kind of hack and slash.
Yeah.
I had the exact same reaction to that one. Moving swiftly on.
Like Overwatch in a sense, or that type of thing.
Yeah, character fight, hack and slasher, yeah. And then they showed Ori and the Will of the Wisp, where the show kind of kicked off again. Looked awesome. I don't remember the original game having so many big bad guys. It seemed to be everything that was coming out, like all the big baddies were like these huge monsters this time. I'm not sure if the whole game is that, or if there's more puzzle solving and stuff like that. But it looked really impressive. The graphics, absolutely amazing.
Did we get a release date on that?
Yeah, 11th of Feb. No, I might not have written all these down correctly, so don't
No, I think that one is 11th Feb. Yeah.
11th of Feb 2020.
Yeah, that game needs to come out now.
That one is Xbox exclusive, so I guess that means it's also coming to the PC.
Yeah.
Minecraft Dungeons was the next thing, so this is coming to Switch, and I guess everything.
Sorry.
I'm a Minecraft fan. I mean, it looks alright.
It kind of looks like a Diablo type game. I mean, I wonder if there's sort of loot. I guess you can be online co-op.
You need wonder no more, because I guarantee you there's loot in this game.
There's going to be so much loot.
It looked fine. Moving on. Then Phil Spencer came out and said gaming is for everyone, just in case we didn't realise.
Really?
And then he was talking about the Game Pass and this show. He was saying there's 60 games being shown at this specific show, 34 of which will be on Game Pass, or Games Pass first day. Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. We'll get to Games Pass in a little bit because they talked about it in depth further on in the show, but it's getting a more and more enticing proposition there's like a big kind of if you've got an Xbox or a PC, as it turns out. So then we EA, which I mean, they didn't really have a show. They had like a weird, these are the 6 games we're working on type thing just before this. But then this is where Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order got its proper show debut, if you will. E3, EA had already shown about, I don't know, was it half an hour of footage of this thing?
Yeah, it was a good amount of footage, wasn't it? I mean, you ripped into it on Twitter saying that the combat looked rubbish.
It did look at.
I actually like it. I think
Did you say that on Twitter?
Yeah.
Wow.
The trouble is that everything now I compare to God of War, and
The enemies did look. They went down far too easily. Just one slash.
You're
And
a
they were
Jedi.
but
done.
then that is true too. If I was stabbed by a lightsaber, I guess I'm going down.
I wouldn't even get hit. I'd be gone.
You're cowering in the corner.
Yeah.
What gets me is that
open your lightsaber.
so this guy is supposedly a good Jedi, and yet he's murdered and maimed.
Yeah, but like every Star Wars game ever, I bet there's some sort of choice where you can choose dark side or light side, right?
This one isn't though.
I don't
You
think so.
are like 'cause nowadays they're all
Yeah.
canon, so he can't go. He's now a goodie, and he's going to be in other things like comic books, I suppose, because they're never going to put him on film. But
So, maybe this game's set where?
After 3, before
After
Rogue
3.
One.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all the Jedi have been murdered.
I
Because
never
you had
understand
Forrest
it.
Whitaker's character, Saw Guerrera.
Ah, yeah.
yeah, so he's in it from the
general.
Rogue.
Right.
What's it called? Rogue
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it looks great. I'm into this.
I like the fact
this
that
is the
Forrest
game we
Whitaker
wanted.
was in it. That's awesome.
This is the game we wanted. This is the game we wanted 13 to be. And they've messed around for so long. It's finally coming out. I'm kind of into it.
I'll take any single player Star Wars game. That's
I
fine.
will
Yeah.
too, but it's just the way the combat just looked quite generic to me.
Why are you so bitter, man?
And like, it,
Yeah.
What happened
what,
to you?
what put me off it was that there was a moment where there was about 4 stormtroopers, and they just waited one by one to walk up to the Jedi instead
Every
of.
game is
Yeah.
like that, though, isn't it?
No, God of War isn't. They absolutely like.
It seemed like there
pain you, don't
were
they?
different types though, because you had the sort of traditional stormtroopers at a distance shooting, and then you had the other ones that would rush in, and then you had the one with the
Yeah,
double
exactly.
thingy.
It's derivative.
That's it.
You've illustrated my point perfectly. Anyway,
Mike, cheer up!
I'll still be happy to. I'll still be happy to play it. Apparently, from what I've been reading, the fuller demo, because for people who haven't been to E3, there's like press demos which are much longer and more in depth than the ones you see on the telly.
Right.
And apparently that it's a lot more nuanced and there's bigger environments and it looks like there is to explore. So it does. That's reading about it after got me a bit more
I
excited.
think
about
they
it.
said you could return to previous environments, didn't they? It sort of opens up like a
Yeah,
Metroid
yeah.
vein,
So it's a little bit like what I think the way Mass Effect lets you go to the different planets, and there's like a little vertical slice of each planet. So it's not like a massive the whole planet you can explore. It's just a little bit of each one. But
Kind of
there's like a
Tomb
hub.
Raider. the
Yeah,
reboot.
exactly. There's a hub
Yeah.
bit.
And I like the little robot thing, you know, like
it's
little.
on your
Yeah,
It's
don't
cool.
get me wrong, it's cute and everything.
Monitored your life sign, didn't he?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is
PC3PO
that
or
when God of
whatever
War
their
set your bar up here, it doesn't look like it's hitting the bar.
TCIP settings. I think that's his name.
Have you? I'm skipping ahead here, but have you got the other Star Wars game down as well later on?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Spoiler alert.
Next was the kind of a surprise announcement. I thought it looked pretty cool. Blair Witch coming August the 30th.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a bit like Groundhog Day-ish, did it? Did he get the impression that he
Yes.
kept restarting every time he died or something from the same
Yeah,
point?
there's another game that's like that, isn't there? But I think it looked quite interesting, quite spooky.
Deathloop.
and what?
There was, no, yeah,
Deathloop.
Deathloop and
Deathloop,
that
that's it,
12
yes.
minutes.
12 minutes, and assuming, well, Groundhog Day, the game, I assume, will be the same as well. Probably.
Is there a Groundhog Day the game?
Yeah, the VR game.
Oh, I've not played that.
Well, it's not out yet. But it's coming
Anyway,
out.
Can
soon.
we just get this point out of the way before people get turned off? That Goose Game was not.
No, it wasn't. I even watched.
Oh.
I watched some of the other shows as well, like the kind of funny one and stuff, and it wasn't on there.
I hadn't even thought
What
about
is
that.
going on with the
But
Goose Game?
That Blair Witch one, I didn't know what it. There's been no hint of a Blair Witch game, right? Because why
No.
would there be? And then there's some people in a house, and then they turn and the cameras look at the corner, and someone stood in the corner. I thought they're just ripping off Blair Witch.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be Outlast 3 or something.
Yeah, well, that
'cause
would
was
make
It
sense
looked
as
just
well.
like
Yeah.
Outlast, didn't it? 'Cause it's a video camera thing.
I thought it was cool.
I
Yeah,
wonder
it's
if
also cool.
Yeah.
it's literally supposed to be the end of spoilers for Blair Witch 1, 1995's classic, or whatever it came out.
I've seen it by now.
I wonder if it's supposed to be directly continuing from those teenagers, because that's how it
Right.
ends, isn't it? The guy's in the corner, and then the camera
Yeah.
gets dropped, and that's the end of the film.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he was investigating that same. But maybe everyone goes into that corner. Maybe there's.
It's a naughty corner.
Like,
Yeah,
Dirty
maybe there's some
Dancing.
Rudy Manx there or something like that. Cyberpunk 2077 was the next game. I think this probably
That's back to
stole
Xbox,
the entire,
isn't
it?
certainly
Yeah.
Xbox
For
show, if not
one
the whole
reason
thing.
and one reason. only.
Yeah.
The
So
man, the legend.
obviously
Keanu
everyone who's
Reeves.
watching this already knows what happened. But so Keanu Reeves comes out, some bloke in the crowd goes, "You're breathtaking," and he without missing a beat just points at him and he's like, "You're breathtaking," and that's memed to death now, obviously.
I love Keanu Reeves.
Oh, so, yeah, I think
He did, I
everybody
guess,
is.
soften the blow that it wasn't there playable and that it's coming out next year in April. Isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
but I mean,
Yeah.
to me that just gives them more time. I feel like that 16th of April is what they said. I feel like that could easily go back to Christmas next year when the
really?
new consoles come out. But who knows?
But we saw a massive chunk of gameplay it was last year, I think, or earlier this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So we've already seen that. We were already bought in. We just wanted to know when we were going to play it, and that's what they delivered. And Keanu Reeves. I mean, what more do you want?
The good thing if they do hit the 16th of April, it means it won't also be at next year's E3. I feel like if it got to another E3, we'd be like, okay, enough of this now. You need to bring it out now.
They're also making a John Wick game, aren't they? John Wick 3 game.
It's kind of like a tactical.
He's so hot.
That's not them.
No, I
That's
know, but
someone
I was
else,
just
isn't it?
wondering.
It's the guy who did Thomas Was Alone.
Yes.
It's a
Mike
sort of.
Blithell.
And it's Epic
Yeah.
Games, isn't it?
Biffle?
Publishing it and
Yeah.
on their platform.
So I'm just trying to work out how many games is Keanu Reeves in. Quite a few.
Probably
He was in Fortnite as
Yeah, I
well.
was gonna
There
say
was
he was in
Keanu Reeves
Fortnite.
mode.
His
not
name
Keanu Reeves
in
mode,
the-
John Wick mode.
yeah, in Fortnite. His name in Cyberpunk is something like, like Johnny I can't say that word.
Mnemonic.
Mnemonic.
So his name in Cyberpunk is something like Johnny Silverhand or something
Memonic.
like
Silver.
that. No, because he had a silver hand. It's something like that. Anyway.
God, well, that's a bit on
Someone
the nose,
Google
isn't it? I am Silverhand.
Johnny Longhair.
So yeah, that was like the moment of the conference. Pretty awesome. They then they got into Battletoads.
That is not what you've written down there. That is inappropriate.
Yeah, what?
Which to me, Battletoads is it's not appropriate for TV. No, I'm joking. Battletoads to me is the game on the NES, which was like a sort of 2D platformer. Whereas this game is a fighting game. Like I think there was a SNES game that was like that.
Like it's a beat 'em up, isn't it?
Yeah, which it doesn't feel to me like the Battletoads game.
Well, there is a bit of a resurgence of beat 'em ups, I think, because there's Streets of Rage 4 coming out as well.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Anyway, and there was also one called Spiritfarer, which was about I've written cutesy grief game. I can't actually remember what it was now. Looking back.
That
That
was
was the
kind of
animal hugging animals. You hug that
On the
deer.
boat.
Is that on the boat?
That was
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Hug a deer on a boat.
Hug a deer on a boat.
That was the name of the game, surely.
Do you know I would play that?
They then showed this without really giving it any sort of other write-up or talk or anything. This thing called RPG Time: The Legend of Mr. Right, which was, if you remember, like the pencil drawn.
Drawn to death.
Which I thought looked awesome.
Well, it had different elements.
I like the
I
presentation
couldn't-
of the graphics, but I don't know what it is.
I couldn't concentrate on it. I was
Yeah,
finding
yeah,
it
yeah.
too hard to watch in a weird way.
But I loved like the drawing of it, like the artwork looked brilliant. But then they didn't tell you what the game was going to be. So.
It looked like some sort of RPG, but then around the edge it was like a board game or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was really, it
very,
was
very
different.
odd. But then was like an indies, like just reel, like a showcase reel of loads of different games, which
Sizzle
went so
reel.
fast I couldn't
Sizzle.
write them down. There were so many games in there. Then they showed a few like oldies but goodies, I guess. So Microsoft Flight Simulator is being brought back.
Yeah,
Don't know why
people-
they then showed a
people are
5-minute
really
trailer of
excited
this
about that,
thing.
aren't
but-
they?
It did look beautiful.
Yeah.
It looked lovely.
I've looked at some of the stats on YouTube, and that trailer for that game is one of the the game is like one of the in the top 10 of the most watched videos of V3 so
People
far.
love it.
That's like
People
a
are
classic
all
French.
over
I
it.
mean, they've not done one of those for years, though, have they? I feel like
No.
because,
Definitive no, hard no.
No.
like no,
And then
It's the full flight experience.
they
Checking in.
then
Industry
Yeah.
context.
Cheers.
they then sprinted through a load of games. So Age of Empires 2,
I mean they've
Definitive Edition.
not done Age of Empires for a while either.
I think they're
Well, they've
testing the
re-
water. aren't
They've
they, to see-
remastered one already.
Yeah.
But I swear Age of Empires 2 is the game that everybody has played, regardless of whether or not they're a gamer.
Yeah.
Everyone has
It's a good
played
game.
Age of Empires
Well, and Tetris.
and Tetris.
Wasteland 3, they then showed in a really odd trailer that didn't really go anywhere and it wasn't very good.
There was a Project Z,
Sorry guys.
Dragon Ball. There's a Dragon Ball. That was it Kakarot?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then Matt Booty, good name that, isn't it? Came out
Matt
to
Booty, it's Matt
he's
Booty.
one of Microsoft's head honchos. Came out to say they bought Double Fine. Tim Schafer came out and showed a bit of Psychonauts 2, which looked like an old school PS2 kind of game, but
Yeah.
with shinier graphics,
Yep.
which is quite cool. And then there was Star Wars Lego The Skywalker
Yes,
Saga,
come on.
which is cool because they did The Force Awakens, but not The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Even though Last Jedi is rubbish.
Well,
in my humble opinion.
we can all have bad opinions, can't we?
Ooh,
But what I would say,
controversial.
so this looks. They've not said much about this, but I think this is a brand new game, not a compilation of the previous games.
Oh
right?
really? No, I'm pretty. Well, I took the.
I don't. I think I get the impression this is like a sort of greatest hits.
All right.
I could be wrong.
Just
They
of
haven't-
all of the
Yeah.
everything Star Wars.
Yeah. It can't be 9 games in one, surely.
Well,
Might be.
they've done all 6 before, and now Force Awakens is already. Anyway, I don't know.
Well, we'll find out.
Someone Google it if you want.
Yeah.
We've got time. Dragon Ball Z, yeah, Kakarot.
Yeah, jumping
which
the gun there. Sorry.
Looked pretty cool. So
I mean, it felt weird because it felt like we've already covered this type of stuff in Xenoverse 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going back to the Frieza saga and the Saiyan
Xenoverse,
saga.
did it well or badly? Or?
Well, it was kind of a weird time jumpy thing. It's like you were going back in time to save certain bits, whereas this is like a straight retelling of the Saiyan and
It
the
only seemed to
Frieza
go up to the
saga.
Frieza bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
They didn't show Cell. Which basically we're speaking the cool language,
Yeah.
the nerd kind
It's
of
good to get a name
yeah.
though. It's like DB Kakarot.
You've lost me there.
I mean, we could just step out for this bit.
Yeah.
Kakarot is basically Goku's
Don't-
alter
That's
ego.
his Saiyan name.
I'm not
Yeah, he's
interested.
saying that.
Yeah.
Like Superman
I
is
think I've had a
Kyle.
spot
or
of
whatever.
Kakarot before.
Then there was 12 minutes, which was this looping Groundhog Day. Apparently, this was shown in 2015 or something.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
remember seeing this in 2015. It's one of those games I regularly think back to, thinking that was cool, and never seemed to come out. And then
Yeah.
there it was, bam.
That'd be a good subject.
Bam,
wouldn't it?
surprise.
We should scour the old E3s and find
You
the
thought
games
it
that were
was
shown,
over?
and then the ones that haven't yet come out, and see if there's any that are still to come out. Like the, do you remember, was it called Wild or something? With the guy
Yeah.
from Ubisoft.
Yeah, where did that
Whatever
go?
happened to that?
That's been
Yeah.
canned, right?
Yeah,
That
definitely.
Yeah.
Canned but not canned.
The Forest came out, didn't
Canned
it?
but not forgotten.
That's on
Defense.
PC.
That's
Yeah,
on
yeah.
PC, yeah.
So this game looked really cool. So he starts off with husband and wife, and he kind of says, you're going to give me this. Oh, it's like, I think she's telling that she's pregnant, isn't she, or something?
Yes.
And he goes like, I know what's in the box. You're going to tell me you're pregnant. She goes, how do you know? And then didn't really believe him that he was in a time loop. I mean, I'd hope that my wife would believe me if I said I'm in a time loop. But
Right,
but
right.
she didn't. She was actually aggressive towards him, I thought, which was a bit.
Yeah, because there's
yeah.
a secret.
Yeah, maybe there is a secret. Intriguing. Then there was Way to the Woods, another deer game. I wrote the dearest game of the night.
Oh.
That's a little joke.
That is awful.
I can't remember what it was about, but it had deer in it. I think it was the one where they were going through
DS5.
cities, was it? And it
Alright.
was all like, yeah. And then they got
DS5.
the natural,
DS5.
the natural progression
The
from
deer
a
and
game about deer and nature to Gears 5.
Gears of War.
I didn't play Gears 4.
Thanks.
Yeah, just in case anyone was wondering. I don't know.
This was all pre-rendered, wasn't
That's
it?
because you don't own an Xbox One, though. So.
I know, but it doesn't make me like want to buy an Xbox to play Gears.
But you
5.
were a massive Gears,
I love
Gears
Gears.
file.
You're a
Like-
gearhead.
I was
It's
a
a
gearhead.
gearhead,
I was a gear and deer head. You know, I don't know. Just it leaves me a bit cold now.
It was weird they didn't show any gameplay. I think last year they might have
Yeah.
shown a bit of gameplay, but it'd be interesting to see how it had been stepped up. It's coming out in September, so it's not that far away.
Yeah, I remember when they showed Gears 3 and there was like the co-op and stuff like that, and like it just looked amazing. You know, like you really wanted to play it. This one, it's just like, well,
Yeah.
it's a
It feels like
cutscene,
they
it's a
need
bit
to
of
change
markers,
it. They
it's a
need
bit
to
of-
reboot it, and they're not. It's just the
Yeah.
same game every time.
It's people just sort of saying aggy stuff to each other and then going, "I'm going to go off and do this." Blah, blah, blah.
What I found weird was they showed the
Well, yeah, that's all.
that-
I like to play it now.
they showed the main protagonist who is now the woman. I can't remember her name. Can you remember her name? Anyway,
really play it,
and then it was
Brenda.
like the ghost of all the other characters coming out of her head. Like,
Yeah.
And then but then the game's about sawing monsters in half with a chainsaw
Yeah,
gun.
yeah.
So like I don't understand why they were going
I
for
watched,
this. It feels like it's very like juxtaposed between like what they're saying it is and what it actually is. Anyway.
I watched a video on a kind of new game mode they've got where I think it's some kind of you escape. You're on a timer and what's it called?
Yeah,
It's
it's
evacuation. I think it's
I
called.
wrote it down. Maybe I didn't.
I think it must be a new
I don't-
co-op game mode.
Yeah, it looks like Counter Strike basically. It's like,
Yeah.
we've just seen what Counter Strike is.
Yeah.
Yay, well done,
Wink,
guys.
wink. But that is really one of their big tent poles, isn't it? Really.
Did they say that was going to be on Game Pass or?
I think it will be. I think
Yeah.
all their first party things are. It was weird. It just felt like if they were that confident in it, they should have opened the show. They should have done more. They shouldn't have done that weird dive through the stage thing that they did to just reveal a trailer. It felt very odd. And then at the end of it all, they went, "Oh, and there's a Terminator crossover." And
Yeah,
it
what was
was
that
all
about?
just
It was
really
all-
weird.
It was
Really
all
weird.
like oh, by the way, Terminator's a
Terminator.
thing.
In fact, Terminator was like
So?
forget Keanu. Terminator was the most seen
Yeah.
star at this show, wasn't he? He was at loads of things. Then they showed the new Elite controller, which looks like a controller.
There's a review.
And then they,
Actually, a controller. Put it on the box.
in fairness, it probably has got some. I don't know. Maybe we should look into it. It's probably like the most responsive or something like that.
Wow, a bit late now.
Well, no, it's not even out yet. Then there was Dying Light 2, which was also shown in Square Enix's thing.
More parkour.
Later, looks
Yeah.
fine.
Parkour.
Later than I thought. I feel like that should be a Christmas or before Christmas game, but it's not coming
Been
out until
teased a lot,
spring.
hasn't it?
Yeah. It's struck me as odd that we're gonna have to wait all that time for it, but
It did look exactly the same as the last one.
it did. I've not played the last one. I always think I should go back and get it. It must be quite cheap by now, but
Yeah, because it had the day and night mechanic, didn't they? So
Yeah, they
at
go
night
nuts
they get
at
more
night,
aggressive.
yeah.
But there's
I
more
did
loot.
play, playing it at night. It was really fun to sort of beat because you're really scared and you're running away from these zombies that you just cannot take down and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's quite a desperate sort
And
of rush.
parkour stuff is cool, isn't it? You know, it's like the
Is
speed of it.
parkour still cool?
I don't know. Is
Parkour used to be cool. Is it still cool?
Parkour's yeah.
I don't
Is
know.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean,
And then
all right.
I am going to rapidly go
Arbitrary.
through the rest of these things. So Forza Horizon 4 got a Lego cars
That
in
looked
it.
alright,
There was
didn't it?
Gears port, which looked bizarre. State of
Yeah.
Decay 2 got a DLC that's called Heartland.
Yeah.
Then they went to great pains to show Phantasy Star Online 2, which I don't know if anyone's really been waiting for that with that much anticipation, but whatever. That's coming in spring 2020 and it's going to be free to play. And then they did Crossfire is this massive game in China and South
I
Korea.
was wondering what that was.
And
I'd never heard of it.
they showed Crossfire X, and again they trailed it, but I guess that was for the audience because it's not massive in the West, but in the East it is. So I guess they were
It's like
trying
a free
to.
to play online thing, or
Yeah.
okay.
It's again I think it's like Counter Strike meets Call of Duty kind of. And then they showed Borderlands 3. So this was exactly what you expect of Borderlands 3. The announcement was I think we already knew the release date anyway, but it's the 13th of September.
But not all. I mean, some of these are exclusive, aren't they? But Borderlands 3 must be class.
Oh yeah, no. Not. I don't think many of these are. Like State of Decay is, I think, but the others maybe Fantasy Star.
They also revealed DLC for Borderlands 2, right?
Oh yeah, so there's which
Re-
must be the oldest, like the longest gap between the game coming out and DLC being
You
released.
tell me,
for
you're
it.
the
Yeah, I know.
expert there.
I'm just throwing these little chest notes out.
A records book of some kind.
Yeah, obviously we've not had time to process all these
we'll look
things
into
yet. But so that trails into the new game, which I did download. It's free for the next few weeks.
It's on PS Plus.
On PS,
Yeah.
no, well, PS Plus is free, but then this DLC is free for the next few weeks too.
Okay, yeah.
Really?
So you can just get it. So
Nice.
you can get it on PS Plus, and then you can get the DLC for
I look
free,
forward
which
to-
I did.
I'll download
I've not
that
played
and
it yet.
never play it.
Yeah.
Then they showed Elden Ring, this George
Ooh.
R.R. Martin, GRR, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That's the one. Author of Game of Thrones. It's G.R.R. Martin, isn't
It's
it?
George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
J.
I couldn't remember. Couldn't remember how to
Yes, it's J.R. Hartley.
Yeah. And so this is a collaboration between him and From Software. I don't know what percentage of him has collaborated with it, but
He's just signed something. Hasn't he? Yeah, that's my name.
But he'll do
I'll have that
anything to
check,
not
cheers.
write them in
Yeah,
a
he's-
bloody books, won't he? He'll like, I'll clean the house, I'll make a game.
Are we seeing like actual procrastination happening
Yeah,
across
yeah, yeah.
multiple media?
Like, I'll get a leather jacket.
the theme of E3 this year, kind of in a way, has been there's no gameplay of any of these games. And
No.
sure enough, it was just like a moody trailer. But whatever. Last time they did a moody trailer was Sekiro, and that turned out well. So I've still got high hopes for this
Oh,
one.
it's From Software. It's going to be a good,
It'll be
if
good,
you like that
yeah.
sort of thing.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, we got to Project xCloud and Project Scarlet. So xCloud is
Ooh.
the console streaming thing, which to me had a really mixed message. I couldn't quite understand what the heck's happening with it. It didn't
Yeah.
seem to be quite Stadia. It seemed to be more like the Vita crossplay thing. Oh, not crossplay,
Yeah.
the Vita streaming thing. I couldn't-
Remote play.
Remote play.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite make head and tail of. They didn't really give it any real introduction. There wasn't much explanation of it. It was just like it's there.
I mean, the streaming space seems very confused, but it feels like they're laying the groundwork for it to become how you buy games in future.
Yeah.
So Bethesda had an optimization technology which looked quite interesting. You've also got Stadia all across it. Then you've got Ubisoft announced a streaming service like a
That was another
Netflix.
No, that
subscription
was a
type
subscription.
thing.
I think that was download it to your console, like the
Oh, was it?
Xbox Game Pass. Yeah,
But this was your streaming from your Xbox, right? So
Yeah.
you can be somewhere else.
exactly.
But the game has to be local
On your console.
On your console.
Yeah.
But it feels
And
like
then
they're
you can play it
laying
on
the
your laptop.
groundwork, knowing that a lot of people still struggle to get a good, decent connection. So it's like there's technology there. Like Bethesda's promised to like optimize even on a low rate
Is that
connection.
Orion?
But then
The
they're not
Orion.
offering.
Orion,
They're not
yeah.
offering that service. So that
That's
was more
technology
positioned
built into
that Microsoft
games.
can buy that off them. I think it was more.
Yeah,
in
but
that.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's more about the tech right now than it is about a proper service proposition. Because like we've got things which are there, but it feels like Microsoft and others are kind of just laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
Streaming is going to become a thing, but A, we've got a retail network which sells physical discs, and we need to support that. And B, most people haven't got the infrastructure right now to support that, so we can't like go right. Everything's streaming right now. So this feels like a little glimpse of the future rather than a kind of fully formed thing.
Well, we did have the Stadia sort of direct thing before this, didn't we? That kind
Yeah.
of laid it out. I think their subscription service was like what, $9.99 a month
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
Pro version.
But you have an early access with Stadia, don't you? So you-
130 quid or
130 to
180 maybe?
get the
The Founders
controller.
Pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one's going to buy that.
It's all very confused, and at the end of it all, like at the moment, I just don't think it's gonna. I don't think I'd be able to plug this in at home and it work flawlessly, and definitely not this way around, where my console is like the server.
Well, the thing
in
is,
essence.
this has been on the PlayStation 4 for years.
Yeah, and no one uses it because
Yeah.
it doesn't really work
PlayStation
well.
Now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, not
is it
now.
now?
It's a
What's
thing
it
where you
called?
can get it is remote play.
Yeah.
You
But
can
you
even do it on a laptop.
I have tried it because when it was announced, I thought, "Oh, this is good," and I tried it on my laptop, and it ran really poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, to put it, I was watching the actual conference where they were talking about it on my TV, which was connected by Wi-Fi to a router, which was next to it, running 100 mega broadband, and the thing was in and out rendering.
someone's doing well for themselves.
I just want to
big
put that out there.
Boasting
go.
on there. 100 meg, eh?
Anyway,
But
How big's your telly?
at least
an uninterrupted signal can't handle a video stream on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, it's
and
painful.
only Bethesda really spoke about latency. None of the it's all like they're just going, there doesn't exist latency. Like if you talk to Microsoft and Google, yeah.
I mean,
Also-
the real difference between what is in a tech demo
He's going
and
there.
This
the
is
real
the-
world.
This is the soapbox corner of the.
Yeah.
Also, if you've got data caps,
Yeah.
you're like.
Well, yeah,
But no
absolutely
one's got
screwed
data
then.
caps these days.
Yeah, but you still
In
get
the US
penalised
they
if you
do,
go
don't they?
over.
But if you
Well,
look
Bethesda
about
did
household,
talk about it actually.
Yeah.
They said that their process for their games, because it
Was
uses
multi-
less, whatever it uses, less data or whatever, would help with data caps.
But they also said that Fallout 76 was a good game. So
They apologise.
come on.
We'll get to that in a minute. And then so Microsoft ended its show with Project
Do you know
Scarlet,
what- Scarlet.
which was there was no machine. There was some people, talking heads came on, and they
Talking Heads game on.
yeah.
Oh, David Byrne.
They find
David
themselves in
Byrne
a
came
beautiful
out
house with a
back.
beautiful
And
wife.
then Scarlet.
This
So
is
yeah,
not
they
my Scarlet.
Psycho killer.
just like Sony, they talked about how there was going to be like less pauses between loading
Yeah,
screens,
and SSD storage.
There was
And they're
four times more powerful video card than the One X.
Well, they were going on about
How
ray
many
tracing
teraflops
as well.
is that? Yeah.
Well, it was
Yeah.
teraflops last time. Now it's all about ray tracing.
And then they showed absolutely no gameplay or how that would benefit us in a game in Halo Infinite, which admittedly looked nice in a an FMV type of rendered in video, but
Again, no
It's also-
gameplay.
yeah.
I don't know. It feels like for Xbox One X, it feels like they promised that was the console, and now this next thing is like 4 times more powerful. It does feel a bit of an FU to a lot
Well,
of people.
that's always the way, though, isn't it? Like any tech
It's like the
products-
iPhone, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's like, and it can there's dark mode.
Yeah.
That's what you've been waiting for, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Every year, like a laptop, a phone, whatever, they always say this is the last one you'll ever need. And in a year's time, they go, you didn't buy the last one, did you?
Yeah.
This is one you need.
Well, not to jump on Apple again, but like now they've gone, oh, you know what the iPad needs? Its own OS. That's what we'll do now. And it's just like no one can keep iterating these things forever without running out of ideas, I suppose.
Although in their defence, you don't have to buy a new iPad to get the iPad.
Well,
OS.
I do because mine's old.
Oh, man. What are you doing?
It's quite interesting.
Not buying
isn't it?
expensive Apple products, I guess.
But they must have. Obviously, they know that each other are developing a console. They know each other. This is the latest technology. So obviously, Sony was not going to be there. So it feels like a very deliberate strategy now that they put those stories out there. They did those demos. They did it quite sort of below the line, thinking like, okay, we'll scoop them. And I think they did that quite cleverly because everyone already knew that what they were doing.
Yeah.
But they didn't have any expectations to see it anywhere just as of yet.
I guess
I think it's
Xbox
quite
at
clever
least
by
put
them.
a date on it, so they said it was going to be winter 2020. So that, well, at least anyway, we have a
Yes.
definitive date for when the next generation happens. But yeah, I was fully expecting Halo to end, and maybe to get a bit of gameplay and see what the difference is in the graphics and the game. Like I keep giving the God of War example, but the way that reinvented itself, I expected
Yeah.
Halo to be shown as a reinvention of Halo, like a soft reboot kind of thing. And then I expected it to go into 20 minutes of more games, like this rumoured Fable game and things, and just show a bit of what's happening. But
Yeah.
they totally just then went, that's it, bye.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it ended on a real underwhelming note. Whereas Sony's thing actually, even though they didn't show any more, triggered a lot more excitement somehow.
Yeah,
But-
because it was an actual demo, wasn't it? It was actual, like, someone saw it and, kind of... And I think they're getting quite a lot of hammer, aren't they, for, like, being so vague. Because it felt like, you haven't even got a proposition here. Like, there is nothing here. It's just we're taking your word for it.
And I guess really it's not that. All they need to do is stick various amounts of memory into a PC and then put the Xbox OS on. It's not like, I mean, I think they probably have about 10 different builds of what this console's power is.
Yeah.
And then they'll choose which one is appropriate to answer Sony at some point. So they're probably both in this like game of chicken.
Yeah.
So,
Who's
But
going
what-
to go first?
I think their biggest asset right now is Game Pass. I mean, that is a really attractive proposition, isn't it?
Yeah,
Out of
yeah.
all those streaming services, if you were to sign up for, the Netflix of game, or for want of a better phrase, that's got some really good stuff. And then they're putting everything on it new. They're putting like loads of like early release stuff on there. It's a really good proposition, and for the price as well. It's
Well, they've folded in Xbox Live, haven't they?
Yeah.
The gold membership into the Game
yeah,
Pass.
and you get it
now.
on PC as well.
PC,
great.
If you have a PC that can
that's
play
a
games.
really good asset now. Like, and Sony is looking a little bit lump and footed when you compare the two over.
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean,
PlayStation now is rubbish, isn't it?
Well, it just falls down by the streaming thing again. Like PlayStation now is great. It's a bit expensive, but if you had a really good infrastructure there to do the streaming thing, it'd be great. But no one does. So you end up with like lag when you're playing Spider-Man or whatever, and it just can't be. It's no good. Okay, that was the end of Xbox.
We done?
Do you want to?
Can we go
Yeah,
home now?
yeah. Do you want to? Anyone want
partway
to
through
briefly
EA, didn't we?
sum up what they thought of Xbox?
I was still waiting
Maybe.
for another big thing. Halo.
Well, I guess
Gears.
Fable was the one that was not that would necessarily be the thing that excited me. I don't
Fable,
think.
another Molyneux game.
It wouldn't be
full of
Molyneux.
It's got nothing to
It's
do with
got
it
nothing
now.
to do
But
with it.
it's still got his fingerprints all over it. But I'm still waiting for something, like one of those studios to bring out some kind of big thing which says like, like a Spider-Man or a Ghost of Tsushima, something big that's like, this is coming and it's new or it's fresh or it's at least a big property or something like that. It's just a bit more of the same, really. And I was, as I say, biggest thing I was impressed by was really Game Pass, and I don't know
And
whether-
Keanu.
And Keanu Reeves.
and
Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
yeah.
I think it puts a lot of
Cyberpunk's
pressure on them for
multi-platform.
2020, doesn't it? It puts an awful lot of pressure on for their next press, because Sony will be back there now, like next year.
Yeah.
So this was a free hit for them, which they kind of missed. And next
Yeah.
year they've suddenly got Sony and the PS5 or whatever it's going to be called bearing down on them, and it's going to be a lot more tricky for them. Anyway, so then next was Bethesda. Given we've just gone half an hour on Xbox, we're going to be whipping through this one. However, Andy, they did talk about Fallout 76. So just to rattle through the announcements. So Fallout 76 Wastelanders coming this fall. It's going to be free, which is good because they couldn't possibly think about charging it for you.
NPCs in Fallout 76 finally.
Imagine that.
An NPC
And
actual
dialogue
Fallout.
trees.
Dialogue trees.
Yeah, so they say full quest lines, new rewards, dialogue trees, and NPCs. And it was interesting that they kind of made out, they said like, year one was about the survivors, year two is about the... It's like, there's no way they ever thought that's the way this was going to go down. But whatever, good.
And they went on about the community, and they went about how engaged they were. I mean, at least he said we got our criticism. The criticism we got was rightful, but you messed it up. Just say you messed it up, and now you're basically.
Well, they did, in
backtracking.
fairness.
But they're backtracking in a good way. We said to them, look, stick an actual quest line in it, stick proper NPCs, stick a proper story in there, and how you want to dress it up, I don't really care. And I will give it another go. I've been burned before, but I'll give it another go.
Well, we did actually have a bit of fun on that. We played it quite a few times,
I
didn't
got to see
we?
you in
Didn't
your
get very
pants.
far. Yeah, but that was the thing where it wouldn't load in your clothes, so hopefully they fixed. I've not actually
So
gone into
you
it.
say, well, look at my clothes.
Oh, it's a
Sorry,
bug.
Andy.
I game as I live.
Battle Royale mode.
And then
Battle
this
Royale.
52-player battle royale mode called Nuclear Winter.
Is that a battle royale? I
Yes.
feel like there should be a number limit, and I don't think 52 is it.
Is it a battle, like a bit of a scrap?
It's Battle Royale.
So it's not a
It's
Royale.
a bundle. It's a battle
Royale
bundle.
cheese.
That's not a royale.
a battle bundle.
Yeah, it's a battle bundle.
Then they got to a game which I'm actually really excited about, this Ghostwire Tokyo, where they build it as an action-adventure game versus paranormal enemies. So it's the one where people in Tokyo are like literally just disappearing. Their clothes, it's like they've been snapped. Their clothes falling out, just falling onto the floor because their bodies have disappeared.
It looked really cool, but
I thought it looked really good. Again, no gameplay,
no
so
gameplay,
you don't know what it's
could
going
be
to be.
anything. Could be a
Exactly.
card game.
It could literally be anything. It could. I mean,
Could
like
be a mobile game.
Could be
That was a real theme of E3.
Well, it's
wasn't
not
it?
definitely not. I'm pretty sure they said it was on PS4 and stuff. But I mean, it's by the Shinji Mikami who did the Evil Within games. So it's got a bit of pedigree there. Obviously, he also did
Spooky.
Resident Evil, I believe. So yeah, it's got good basis for being reasons to be cheerful, let's say, and scared. And then they rattled on about ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, and Commander Keen, this weird-looking mobile game, which I won't dwell on.
No.
Elder Scrolls Legends, and then a bit of Rage 2 DLC, and then finally we got to Wolfenstein.
Yes.
So Cyberpilot VR, which didn't look amazing. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a go with it. I suppose.
it
I
looks-
don't know. I'm interested.
Yeah,
in
it
it,
looks all right. They didn't really show too much of it, though, did they?
no,
There wasn't much commentary going on.
it
It's
seems
just-
you've hacked. It didn't seem to be BJ Blazkowicz, did it? But it seems someone's hacked like the German Nazi machines, and
That
you're
guy
using
kept
them
going
against
on
their
about
arms.
killing Nazis.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
He did,
Yeah,
yeah.
Nazis.
And then sure enough they confirmed Wolfenstein, so that's coming out in July, and then they confirmed Wolfenstein Youngblood for the 26th of July.
It's weird
so
they bunched them
be
so close
excited.
together. but-
Yeah, it makes you feel like one should be on the other, you know what I mean, like Cyberpilot should come bundled with Youngblood, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, it looked good. It looked like Wolfenstein with two
Yeah.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
which is
Wolfenstein,
no bad thing.
I'm looking forward to playing that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then next up was this game called Deathloop by Arcane, which was probably the game I was most excited about, certainly at this show, and maybe at any of them, just because I love Arcane. Dishonored and Dishonored 2, obviously.
Yeah.
Such good studio, so creative. They really looked like they were into it, the guys who came out.
Yeah,
that
they really were.
They were effing and blinding.
They were effing and jeffing.
Yeah. So it seems to be Groundhog Day. Where
Is this like Groundhog Day spy versus
with
spy?
assassin, yeah,
type
exactly,
thing?
yeah. Perfect.
So she has
description.
to protect the loop, and he wants to break the loop.
Yes.
And that's the friction is there. Master assassins, and I assume there's some kind of thing. It looks like Dishonored, but a little bit more kind of stylized into a kind of a 60s, 70s type vibe.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
definitely 70s. Like even the poster for it looks like something that Kubrick would have. Well, you're probably right. It's probably 60s/70s. What they couldn't, again, no gameplay, so it was hard to know how you'd traverse, if it's going to be like Dishonored in first person, and
But
I guess it must be.
Yeah.
Is this like an asynchronous multiplayer type of game?
Well,
then,
again, yeah.
or is it a
it's
single
hard to
player game
know.
that you play
Yeah.
different perspectives?
Are
or-
there, are there only two characters in the game? Because that was what was implied, right?
If only we'd done some research.
No.
Well, the thing is, they only told us so
Yeah,
much.
no, I know.
And can you be like?
No, but you kill other people because they were killing other people, weren't they?
Yeah,
they
they
were
were.
battling like
Okay.
the things. I think basically, like you're on a map. There'll be some kind of like a match will start, and you'll be playing either one, and then you'll have to battle the way through. And then
So you think it's multiplayer then? Two-player multiplayer?
I don't
I
think,
think it is.
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
I bet you this
So-
hat. It's
Time
not
loops will
multiplayer.
tell.
You
That's
look like
my
a
hat.
Make-A-Wish foundation.
And then
And you
yeah,
got me that hat for Christmas.
I'm just borrowing it.
Secret Santa got it.
I know it was you.
Then, they showed how amazing their Orion streaming tech is for
Yes.
reasons we've just spoken about.
I think it was cool.
And then their mic drop moment, I suppose, was Doom Eternal. So it's
Very
coming out
excited for this.
22nd of November.
Oof.
I would have thought probably more a Halloween release date or something, but they've skipped it and gone to 22nd of
Brexit
November.
Day.
So to me, I don't know.
It looks
a
very,
little bit gratuitous.
It
for
looks
my
very
taste.
gamey. Like there were icons, and you saw like the rad suit, the big sort of white suit, like and like kind of traversal as well.
Yeah, the platforms that look like
Platforming
weird.
type of
Why
thing.
is hell decked out with those? Oh, Mars or whatever it is.
yeah, they're just floating around in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And also, he gets into a cannon at one point, which is pretty cool.
Did he? I don't remember.
Well, like
that.
a sort
That
of.
was
Do
a
you
blink.
remember that bit?
Well, no, he just gets into an escape pod that lands him somewhere.
Oh yeah, that
and
was
then-
as part of the intro.
Yeah.
That wasn't
I thought,
gameplay.
I thought it was a cannon.
No,
Anyway.
yeah.
No, he was in. Yeah,
I mean,
he was on a ship and then he got blasted down in an escape pod to Mars.
No, there was a bit where he's on a rock and he takes out like a cannonball from a. Did I imagine this?
I think you've imagined this.
I swear this happened.
Did you turn on to
remember
Tom
that.
and Jerry or something?
Yeah.
Wile E. Coyote. I swear. Okay.
And
It
then
looks
they-
good anyway.
I feel like they just fully leaned into the doominess of it all.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
basically
It
like,
looks really
right,
fun.
Power
I-
fantasy. Here we go.
I think my problem is I've not played Doom 2016 or whatever it was, so I haven't got I've not got the excitement because I haven't played the first one.
I do
so I've
love
got
that.
no
I
point
love
of
that
reference.
game. So I'm all for this. Their sort of direction of just like, right, you are the Doomslayer, go have fun, type thing.
Slay.
Yeah.
In
the
a
battle mode.
non-Santa Claus way. Yeah, and then it was the
Battle,
Slayer versus
yeah.
two demons.
It said
right?
skill versus tactics, or skill versus strategy, rather. So I guess as the demons, you can call in other demons, and the Slayer just has to run around and kill everything.
Sounds like it would suck being the demons in that game, really.
I mean, you can fight. You can be the Mancubus or the. I can't remember what the other flying one is.
Yeah.
Move on.
Is that what Liam Gallagher goes to there?
I wonder if you can level up, and get better demons based on how well you're
Maybe.
playing.
Or, like,
so
evolve type
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
yeah.
So if you do really well, you end up being the Hell Knight or whatever the big cyber demon.
Cyber demon, yeah.
So they also announced single player DLC, which is quite a big thing because there was no single player DLC
for Doom.
for Doom.
I didn't write that.
Wait a
down.
minute.
No, wait, what?
They definitely.
Anyway, moving swiftly
Did I
on.
dream this whole thing?
I think you might have, yeah.
What were you watching?
Yeah.
I'm going to do some research.
All right, as you do that, we'll move to Ubisoft, and I would say a mixed bag. Well, actually, briefly, Luke, do you want to just talk about Bethesda? What you thought of Bethesda's?
Oh no,
show
I
overall?
mean, yeah, I felt like the whole sort of Orion stuff was kind of best suited for a GDC rather than E3. But it's interesting to know because everyone's talking about streaming and everything. I just love Doom, so I was sort of excited by the end of it.
Good,
yeah.
good. Ubisoft, I thought it was probably in a way a better conference than Microsoft, which I felt Microsoft felt it was too bloated. There was so much there, probably because PlayStation aren't there, and it got everything therefore. So it just felt like it was a real beast of a show, and there was a bit of bits where you just going, oh, just too much.
Was that for Microsoft?
Yeah, whereas Bethesda in comparison felt quite lean and mean, and they went through real quick, and they had the Fallout apology, which I thought was a nice touch. And anyway, Ubisoft was next, and they started with a game which I didn't think I'd be that excited for, but I am now. Yeah. Watch Dogs Legion.
This really did make me laugh. It was a core blimey London moment.
Although
I do London.
It's really exciting to see London, as we are from. Well, not from there, but we live in the vicinity. Yeah. Shown in a modern game. It's not been done since Syndicate, but obviously that was the old Victorian London, so a bit different. Before that, what was it called? The Getaway, I guess.
Yeah,
on PS2.
I think on the PlayStation 2.
GTA.
Yeah, there's GTA London, isn't there, as well? Yeah. So it's really good to see London back. It's very V for Vendetta-y, which suits London because that's where that's set as well, I think. Right. Yes. It is. And yeah, it just looked really good. So there's no hero. We're all heroes. What would your skill be, Andy? Talking about something in a really grumpy fashion.
No, I mean combat. Sheer combat.
Combat.
I've always thought that about you.
You can tell by the guns.
You're a powerhouse.
Power, just anything power related.
So what I don't understand is, can someone say no? Because you know what I mean. I want to recruit you to my thing, and they just go.
There'll probably be a level cap.
Actually, mate.
You're talking about
if you're level 1, you couldn't recruit a level 50.
Yeah, maybe.
But I did the granny bit in it.
Oh, the granny.
That was
sort of like cyber granny, kicking people in the shins.
The basic premise is you have a team of 4. It looked like, right, and you can recruit your team of. But is it like
it was a whole skill tree.
It was like State of Decay that it was permadeath. Like you just have a
so
group
if they're
of
dead,
people.
they're dead. Yeah. Like zombies. Zombie you.
Although, I don't. Logistically, they showed a character selection screen, and there were dozens of people. So if you can recruit anyone, that means in theory they've recorded VO for every single.
I guess so. Yeah.
Which is how does that work?
Would be insane, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You might get a lot of repeat dialogue, but I did like there was one bit where he was highlighting on somebody and it said that they had a perk of 100% something but also may die randomly, and I was like
they got a heart murmur or something like that.
But also assume that you are guided to certain missions in certain ways by you need a hacker specialist, then you've got someone near who's that person. There'll be the odd person who goes across the city to find, but most people will fall into patterns, won't they? They'll preempt, so they'll be able to keep it reasonably walled garden. I would have thought.
I mean, he was like, "You've got to find a hacker." He walks around the corner.
Hacker right there.
But I mean, you got to have some gaminess to it, haven't you? Or else.
One of the things I would say is there was a lot of chatter when it was leaked that there wouldn't be as much gunplay because obviously it's set in London, and Watch Dogs 2 would. Really,
you're right. It was supposed to be quite non-violent, wasn't it? The rumor.
And Watch Dogs 2 really scaled back on the gunplay, but this was pretty full on, right?
Yeah, this one had John Wick style close up.
They had the robots as well, so there was a lot of shooting of robots.
But they get around it by saying it's like a post-Brexit where we've all gone mental and we're just killing each other, which is feasible.
That's us in 40 years.
I don't know whether I want to play a game of what's happening outside my door, to be perfectly honest. But hey,
I don't think Brighton's there though. So
yeah, Brighton's pretty nice.
We were wondering if this office is there. If Canary Wharf's in it.
I'll visit the office.
In the trailer showed a
Camden.
I wasn't going to say, but a bit of a town where I happen to frequent.
You can say Camden.
It was very close to
the seedy underbelly of Camden.
So it's a place where I regularly walk. So it's quite cool seeing somewhere you've actually
You can
been.
find him there.
Yeah.
Well, we're not like in New York, they can't move for these games, but here it's quite a rarity.
It's a bit of a novelty for us, isn't it?
They then killed the momentum, I thought, by getting, and I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but they brought Rob McElhenney out.
This was awful.
And he talked about this game called this sitcom that's only exclusive to Apple or something, like paid Apple Plus.
TV
whatever it's
Plus,
called.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's called Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet, and it's kind of like a Silicon Valley
It made me think of
games development.
Did you watch
type
the God of War documentary about Corey Barlog?
I did not, but I know.
It did kind of make
I've
me
seen
think because
bits
it was
of
all about the game developer, the director, and it's like it's selling him. Because I felt like that documentary was Corey Barlog, the story.
I mean, this guy, like he's the creator and writer, one of the main writers of Always Sunny, so he can clearly write a very good show. But I just felt like this trailer was really bad.
The clip didn't seem to have any actual jokes in it.
Was that F. Murray Abraham as well as the Danny DeVito character, I guess?
Yeah,
just a token old guy.
Was Charlie Day in it as well? I don't know.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, it was. I think it just looked. It's just like it just went like, what is this?
The problem with it as well, he talked for like
a long time,
like 5 minutes before they showed the trailer.
That's
and he's really buff.
Well, he is really buff. Although he also got really fat for one of the series as well when he's Sunny.
Right.
So well, anyway.
Method
I guess the
We'll
good thing.
see.
I guess
We'll
good
see.
thing about being on Apple TV Plus is not many people will be exposed to it. So
That is true.
something.
Yeah.
It made me slightly sad though, because I love, it's
Oh, yeah, I
love him. He's a great comedy actor. But
I like Always Sunny as well, but
anyway, then we got Rainbow Six Siege, Operation
stuff.
Phantom Sight, which was DLC for that.
James
Brawlhalla
Bond.
got Adventure Time, which was like, really? But anyway, and then we got this pretty exciting looking Ghost Recon thing, Breakpoint, where they brought out John Bernthal, who was the Punisher, of course, and Shane in The Walking Dead. And he came out on stage. It wasn't quite a Keanu moment, but he was still pretty cool, I thought.
yeah, the dog.
He had a dog.
Yeah.
It was called Keanu.
I mean, there was an awful lot of Clancy at the old Ubisoft, wasn't there?
Yeah,
It was like
yeah,
Clancy this, Clancy that. That'd be Clancy.
Yep.
It's like there was another one which was like a kind of a breakout 3-player with
Well,
a
yeah,
vaccination.
we'll come to that
Quarantine.
next.
Quarantine, that's it.
But yeah, so he came out. So the idea of this is he's the baddie, I think. Basically,
Yeah. He's the leader of the wolves, and you're
yeah.
in the ghosts, and it's ghosts versus wolves, like skins and shirts type thing.
I think there was an Atari 2600 game called that. Yeah, so I mean, I couldn't again quite work out how exactly it plays. Although I think this one has had a much more. That's just me not being that interested in this. But I guess you can play it 4-player.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite the same as Wildlands, or if you're a little bit more like tight within it. Like, so it's more. I don't know.
I bet it's objective based.
I'm interested in it. Next up was bits and pieces of this Ghost Recon Delta Company, which was like a mobile game. The Delta Company was the social stuff for Breakpoint, which I think everyone just did a collective shrug at that point. Then there was Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, which is a mobile game which brought Sam Fisher into it.
That was outrageous.
Cheers, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to show Sam Fisher in that much detail, you then have to reveal the Splinter Cell game.
Not
later
if
in
you
the show.
just go, there it is. I hope you choke on it.
And then Just Dance was announced for Wii. I've written down Just Dance 83 because I didn't know how many there were, but apparently this was the 10th one, wasn't it? 'Cause that was the whole point. But it's coming
Funny
to the
joke there
original
from Mike.
Wii,
But not the Wii U.
not the Wii U. But then I suppose technically you can play Wii games on Wii U. So
They know their
yeah,
market, though, don't they?
yeah, I mean it's Just Dance. Then they got to this interesting Rainbow Six Quarantine, which looked like a spooky take on
3-player
on Rainbow
Left 4
Six.
Dead, maybe.
Yeah, I
War
wasn't
Z
quite
type
sure
thing.
if it was monsters or infected or zombies.
Well, he had a weird thing on his hand that was
Yeah.
bleeping.
I thought he was turning into a werewolf or something
Yeah.
at one point, but then
stopped.
But then stopped
Yeah.
because his watch went yellow, and that's the
Intriguing.
antidote for
He
wolfness.
injected him.
Wolfness, yeah.
So that
But
one.
yeah, I definitely want to keep an eye on. It said 2020, which means probably 2021, I guess. So yeah, we'll see. Then lots more Division 2 things. Episodes 1 to 3 were announced. It was the Division movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain.
Straight to Netflix.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing these days.
Oh, by the way, so just talking about the episodes 1 to 3, DLC and all that. Yes, they did announce 2 single-player campaign DLC packs for Doom Eternal.
Oh, they
So I
did.
didn't imagine it.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant the 2016 Doom.
Congratulations, you paid
Why
attention.
would they do that?
Then they, I'm only just going over Division 2 stuff because I have not played it.
More
very
stuff.
I'm up for
More
getting it,
stuff.
actually. If it comes down to a $5, I'll get it.
Maybe
look
you
forward to your
can borrow
review.
mine. I've got it on disc.
You can get it on Uplay Plus.
I might actually borrow that.
Yeah, so you could also just buy Uplay Plus. It's very apt for $14.99 US a month, starting in September,
Pricey, innit?
and then
100
coming to
plus games.
Stadia in 2020, which I didn't quite understand if you have to pay 2
You
subscriptions.
can't, surely.
But isn't Stadia free?
You can get a free version of it. You just can't then get the 4K
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, it's very
This is
confusing.
getting
It's
Oh,
all
Yeah,
very
Stadia
confusing.
is free for
This is getting
1080p, 30 frames per second, I think.
I mean, I don't think it even had a UK price. I don't even know if it's coming out in our country quite then or not. But, we'll see.
15 quid, that's what it's going to
Well,
be. 'cause
yeah,
it's
exactly. It's
15
always.
quid.
Yeah.
It's always the same.
It's always 15 quid.
Yeah.
And then
So
they
it's a
dwelt
fiver.
on a game called Roller Champions for about 30 minutes. It felt like,
Yeah.
where people roller skate in a big circle.
This is
There
basically
was a bit of gameplay, wasn't there? But
Yeah.
not
It's
much.
the sort of Rocket League type
it's
thing,
Rocket
isn't
League
it?
on legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocket League on legs, on
skates.
skates.
But
And then-
they'll do well with that.
Yeah, I mean, it did.
We'll play that.
I'm
Will
sure
they?
it plays better than it
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I don't know why they dwelt so much on
I've
it.
invested in it.
Was it free to play or was it?
It's a long train.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's free to play. And then they finally went, one more thing. Yves Guillemot, was he called? The head of
Yeah.
Ubisoft. And everyone thought that it'd be Splinter Cell, but it wasn't.
I did.
I
thought it
did.
was
I
Splinter
totally did. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought everything was going to go black. The lights would all be
With a
turned off, and it'd all come on green.
Oh, come
And
on.
it didn't, and that was disappointing to
I'm
me.
gonna make my own Splinter Cell game.
yeah.
I'm tired of waiting.
I'll tell you what. We'll
Film
ring
yourself
We'll
for the
ring them up.
cutscenes.
Lego man.
And this was a game called Breath of the... Oh, no, it wasn't called Breath of the Wild. It was called Gods and
Oh,
Monsters.
zing.
Gods and Monsters.
Take that, Ubisoft.
Burn.
Announced weirdly for the 25th of Feb next year, which means
Gods
it's coming
and
out
Monsters.
So
really soon.
probably loads of footage, right, Mike? Seeing as it was
Yeah,
coming
or
out
at least 20 seconds of a trailer, and that was it.
soon. Oh, okay, that's weird.
So there is by the team who made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so I guess that's one of the best Assassin's Creed ever, so it puts it in good stock. Good chance it's going to be good. It looked like a cartoony version of Odyssey, I
But at
suppose.
That
least
game
it's
Oceanhorn that I think was on mobile.
It looked
for a
better
bit.
than that, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
It basically looked like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
Exactly
okay,
the same
yeah, yeah.
graphics.
Yeah.
But
and
at least
all
it's
that.
a Ubisoft game that's not a Clancy, gritty, some
That's
kind
true,
of-
that is true.
It is something different. At least they're trying something different.
Or Splinter Cell.
But yeah, it'd be better if it was Splinter Cell.
At this point, I
So
would
angry.
take a Ubisoft Zelda game and see what they can do with that sort of game. It'd be cool. All right, we're ready. So Ubisoft plus minuses.
Yeah, pretty good. What happened to that Tunic game, by the way, on Xbox? Is that still coming out?
That was a weird noise.
Uh,
I do not know. That
that
wasn't
wasn't
shown. Was it?
shown,
I think
was
it
it?
is. I
When you're
think
the
it is coming
fox
out. They also
and you
didn't show. Ubisoft didn't show Skull and Bones, the
That's
pirate em up.
dead.
Well, apparently it's being polished.
shot in the head.
Yeah. As in delayed for ages until they make it so it's not rubbish or whatever.
Yeah, till it goes.
Um,
Yeah, that never happened.
I'm not sure there's a market for that anymore. I think the excitement for the pirate thing's gone, hasn't it? But we'll see.
Pirates
So
was so last year.
yeah.
Yes.
Tell that to the Caribbean. And then it was the turn of Square and what I like to call Enix. You probably say Enix.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And they kicked off very strong with Final Fantasy VII. I thought. Any fans here? You are, aren't you? I
Yeah,
am.
well, active battle system with the sort of ATP charging out.
APB. Yeah.
that was
So it looks to me like
APB?
it.
Come on.
I did. You know what? I was going to write it down as well, and I didn't because I thought no one will ask that question. Action
turn
bar,
points.
or something like that.
Oh, it's the name of my
Action
cat.
points. Basically, it means that you can unlock your special moves and unleash them based on how much APB you have. So in the game, the old game, there used to be this thing called limit breaks, and they would stack up the more attacks you did, and eventually be able to unleash these like massive attacks. Good name for a band, obviously.
Yeah.
And this game has a slightly different system, but it seems this is the same way you do that.
Same sort of combat from Final Fantasy 15, I guess.
Yeah.
But then,
With a pause thing where you can spinny,
yeah.
and then
spins
you can
different.
choose. It looked cool. I mean, I like the back and forth between Cloud and Barrett when they were fighting.
Barrett was proper cheesy though.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
very
yeah.
cheesy.
Well, they've already had a little bit of flack for making him like a little bit like a caricature, haven't they?
yeah,
So,
he's a little bit over the top.
They confirmed that Materia is coming back into
Yeah.
the game, which is cool. Materia is the way you get spells. You can switch between characters in combat, stagger enemies by targeting their weak point, which in every Final Fantasy game, lightning kills machines, and water spells kill things that are on fire, and this sort of thing. So it's that kind of like
yeah.
paper, scissors, rock type thing. The big scorpion boss took at least 20 hours to kill by the look of it.
It did look fun though. It looked like it was going all
Yeah.
over the place and lots of jumping about and
Yeah.
yeah,
I've got some
Uh,
questions.
exciting.
Are they really going to call it Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Well,
Is that
like,
the
it does
official
seem
name?
that is the name of it, doesn't it? Yeah, that
it was
that
because it
had
showed you
me.
the pre-order bundles and the box and everything.
Yeah,
Not the
it is.
artwork.
It's a strange name for it.
Also, they're splitting this into 3 parts, right? And each part, in theory, will be a full price game.
don't
Really?
ask, don't ask.
Isn't that the thing?
Oof.
'Cause
Yeah. So apparently they've not called it Part 1. They've just called it Remake.
Yeah.
But this is just Midgar. So Midgar is actually only.
The first half of the first disc, I think.
Yeah, in terms of the overall game, it's maybe 20% of the game, would
Yeah.
you say? And that's what they're selling. So I made a list. So of the characters in Final Fantasy, this game won't contain
An open world,
5
right?
of them. So in Final Fantasy, so you won't get Red 13, you won't get Yuffie, you won't get Vincent, you won't get Kate
No,
Sith.
Yuffie.
You'll get
I'm
red.
out.
You'll get red. Because red is the experiment
Huffy
in
from
the Shinra.
Is he in Midgar? Is he?
He's in Midgar.
Ah,
Yeah. You
okay.
get him just
But you won't get
before
to
you
control
escape.
him though, will you? Because doesn't he? Oh, no, you do. Yeah.
You do.
I was thinking you picked him up in Cosmo Canyon, but you don't, do you?
No,
yeah.
no.
Okay, but you won't get Yuffie,
yourself,
Vincent,
people.
Sid, or Kate Sith. I don't think.
Yeah. No.
So, how long will it be before Part 2 comes out?
Well, this is the thing they haven't said. Yeah.
What
So
systems will Part 2 be on?
No.
Like,
it makes little sense. Little to no sense.
they haven't been honest about anything. Well, they haven't revealed anything about what happens after this one.
They said this, didn't they? Say the game came on 2 Blu-rays. I'm sure that's what they said at the start
Yeah,
of the show as
they
well, the
did.
presentation.
Jeez, that's like a lot.
It's a
Yeah.
big game, yeah.
If it's that's 50 gig of Blu-ray for the full one, isn't it?
But it's because the textures these days, because it's all 4K. I suppose everything takes up a bigger whack of space.
Did see Tifa?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was I didn't realize Tifa was so popular, but the crowd
Yeah,
went
she's
nuts.
She's big.
I always thought Eris was the
Tifa.
popular one.
Yeah.
She was never in my, like you could always have your 3 mains. She was.
Oh, okay.
I always had like the different. Whatever. Doesn't matter. No one
Yeah.
cares. No golden chocobo. You'll be
Oh.
disappointed to hear.
Oh.
I'm sure there will be one in the
Part
game
two.
in part 2.
What are they even
Right.
doing?
Yeah, what have they been doing with their time? No golden.
Who's,
chocobo.
There won't be
who's
any
got a
summons
golden
either.
chocobo?
I've got two on
yeah,
a save file
yeah.
somewhere.
I've never heard that before from you.
So yeah, I mean, as a game, I'm very excited about Final Fantasy VII. It seemed to just about have enough of the old blended with new, what you'd expect from a new game. So
Just sounds like a very complicated release.
yeah.
So
Very.
I've like played it a little bit here and there. Is the first like half of this game or the first third of this game enough to be a game in itself?
Well, not really, because it'll end and you'll go, ah.
Great.
Well, it'll,
Yeah,
it'll end just when we get to the open
Look forward
world
to that.
bit.
Yeah,
'Cause all
yeah,
of
yeah.
Midgar is linear. It's really
Yeah,
linear.
I mean, Midgar is in its own way like a bit of an open world in that you can go
Yeah.
into the various shops and there's a bit to it. But yeah, it's a sliver of what the actual game.
Will
should
this
be.
have the bit where you suplex a train? I remember that bit from the game.
Do you do that?
I don't know.
You fight a train.
Do you what?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's too long ago that I played
Have
it.
I woken up in some alternate universe? I just imagined all
What
these.
kind of E3 have you been
No,
watching?
seriously.
They did confirm the 3rd of March 2020 as a release date, so I guess at some point they'll tell us more.
It's the day before my birthday.
Well, there you go. I'll get that. That's
Looking forward to
I
it.
look forward to not getting
it.
okay. So to move swiftly on, so they then went to Life is Strange 2, which is still being brought out in parts, bit by bit, right?
Yeah.
And
The new
to me, they
Telltale
seem to
type thing.
spoil everything about the game for people who've not played it so far. But I've not played it, so I
and
don't know.
this was annoying because it had like fans talking over it while playing it. So they're going, "Oh my
Oh.
goodness, look at what
Oh,
just
yeah.
happened!"
That was
Yeah.
terrible.
This
Well,
is
they
the
were-
greatest game
They
ever.
were influencers, weren't they?
For,
So-
such,
Oh,
for,
it's
for,
like,
for such a
come on.
narrative game, you don't need that.
No.
The gameplay itself should be that emotive. I don't need. Oh, okay, don't.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Don't
Don't.
get him
It
started.
was
Oh.
odd. It was odd.
Let us get paid to ruin it.
I am now going to go through an awful lot of RPGs that were announced. So there's Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles coming to various everywhere basically
Mobile as well.
at Christmas time on mobile. Last Remnant remastered on Switch. Dragon Quest Builders 2. Excite.
Yes, it's
Good.
good. The first one's really good.
Dragon Quest 11, which every time I see it gets a longer name. It's got like 7 words to it now at the end of it or something.
Was this the definitive S?
Yeah.
Edition?
Probably.
Yeah.
But then they showed a few indie games. So there was they're like, I can't remember what they call it, but they're indies. Which
Squindies.
one of which, yeah, Swindies, that'd be a good name for it, wouldn't it? First of which looked quite cool. It was like that Circuit Superstars, like the top-down Micro Machine style, but
Oh,
with real
yeah.
physics. It seems they seem to be
yeah.
suggesting.
Nice.
Looked all right. Battalion 1944, which is a PC game, which it's just a wartime
Yes.
shooter. There's
Yeah.
10 a penny these days, it feels like, but I don't know. I'm sure people love it. Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC, which I don't know enough about, but maybe you do.
I might pick it up. I've got to finish the Kingdom Hearts 3 first before I get there. Yeah.
I mean,
Can't get out of Toy Story Land.
Might take you a little while.
Yeah.
You might spoil the plot if you go ahead. Does it have a plot? Or
Yeah,
There's a lot of plot. That's
Is there too much plot?
the plot is dense. Then Final Fantasy 14 is apparently still going. They made it sound like you're the baddie, I guess, but I don't know enough about it to know anything about that. Then they showed Dying Light 2, again confirmed for spring 2020.
More parkour.
Romancing Saga 3 and Saga. I actually wrote this down. Saga Scarlet Grace Ambitions. Which were both Japanese RPGs.
I love a good JRPG.
Now being turned into a British, translated into English and whatever, like every other language under the sun, I guess. I'm not even going to go through some of these. Then they got to Outriders, which was this game by People Can Fly, which looked they worked on, unfortunately for them, the bad Gears of War game, Judgment.
Yes.
And also
Bulletstorm.
So, I think Cliff Blazinski used to be loosely associated with this studio, but now he isn't.
He's not anymore now.
So, there's pedigree there, I guess. The trailer looked good, no gameplay.
Yeah,
they
confirmed
confirmed
it.
Summer 2020. I imagine it's a third-person shooter that's a bit like Destiny.
It had a bit of a Mad Max feel to it, with a bit of sort of supernatural stuff as well.
Yeah, it's like Stranger Things, big demon things or something.
Yeah.
They then showed a cool-looking RPG by the guys who made I Am Setsuna called Oninaki. It's a dungeon crawler. And then confirmed that Final Fantasy VIII will be being remastered.
Oh, yeah.
Squall?
It said
Squall?
With his gun sword.
With his gun sword, yeah.
They kept saying the one you've been waiting for. It's like, yes, it's the only one you haven't done yet.
Well, I would much prefer that they remastered or did something cool with Final Fantasy VI, because that's my favourite one personally.
Right, Never heard that before.
And then they got to the game we'd all been waiting for.
Yeah.
They didn't show us any of it.
No.
Oh no, the Avenger. Oh, yeah.
They just showed us some kind of ropey looking cutscenes.
And a slightly disappointing looking plot.
You know when they change an actor halfway through a drama and you go, wait a minute, that's not the same person, but they're trying to be the same person. This was like that with the whole Avengers.
It was like a straight-to-video sequel of a popular film.
Yeah. It was like, hey Thor, what are you doing? I'm over here. I'm Thor. Look at my face.
The trouble is as well, by this point in the movie, Thor's like quite a comedic character. Yeah, he did something and they went, he made a joke. And it's like, okay, but Thor now is more than just.
I guess they're just trying to disassociate themselves with the movie, because you also had Hank Pym in there.
Yeah,
was supposed to be Ant-Man.
Young, wasn't he?
Well, no, but that's the original Ant-Man is Hank Pym. We've got Scott Lang from the movies. It's different type of thing. So I guess this is like its own thing.
I think apparently they showed, I didn't spot it myself, but they showed Black Panther in one of the frames somewhere as well in the trailer.
Yeah, it's all the crew, all the gang, isn't it?
But then they kind of showed the trailer, which was like, there's this thing called, was it called A-Day or something like that? It's like, I probably wrote it down. Maybe I didn't.
Was it like the Civil War thing?
A-Day. So A-Day is this thing where the Avengers, I guess it's named after the Avengers, so like Avengers Day, where they didn't save the world and the whole world is dead.
Oh, no.
Or the city at least. And then it goes on to 5 years later and there's a threat, which they didn't elaborate on what that was. And the Avengers have come back together again, but Captain America apparently dead, but he's not.
He was in the trailer, I saw it.
Well, no, but he died. You know, in that scene where
prologue.
the thing blows up, he died apparently in that.
Right.
And then they went on to say it's an original story, which clearly it was, because it didn't look like anything in the films or comic books I've ever read. They said, and then they kind of made this thing about saying, but you can upgrade your powers, your superhero, and they kind of made it sound like there's going to be loads of new superheroes, loads of regions, like I guess Wakanda and stuff will come into it. And lots of new stuff going on all the time, which makes it then sound like a Destiny game. So I think this is probably Avengers Destiny, where you go on from point to point. There's, you go to like a big like map world, select where you're going to go to that region, do the mission in that region.
Oh yeah.
Would you have teams?
It's just not. It's not what I. Yeah, it's definitely going to be. It's going to be. I think it's going to be 4-player co-op at the same time, but you can also play it on your own by the sounds of it. I just. Because I went onto the press center and read the press release to get a bit more information about it, and I feel like this is what it's going to be. It's basically going to be a Destiny Avengers.
Do you remember the Transformers games where you'd pick your loadout of Transformers and then go into a part of like Hong Kong or Tokyo and then go and have loads of battles in the street and like smash things up? That's what this feels like, and that's just not what I want from the Avengers game.
I wanted a linear. I wanted Spider-Man, but done with Like, it didn't have to be all the Avengers all the time. You could have a mission where you're Thor, a mission where you're Captain America, a mission where you're Iron Man. I didn't need them to have the whole thing there. I don't
That's
know.
like not massively original, like the changing roles, like the Call of Duties have done that, that kind of thing. But yeah, that ultimately was it, wasn't it? And like, I don't know, it looks like a straight to DVD Avengers, I think is what I said on WhatsApp.
Obviously, we have not seen a gameplay, the theme of E3, but
yeah, we're keeping an open mind.
I always find it weird that Black Widow is fighting like these monsters where she's just a human. They would snap her neck in.
So is Tony Stark?
Yeah, but he's got the Iron Man suit on.
Like billion dollar.
Why does Iron Man not make her a suit of armor? I don't know.
Because then she needs to stand on her own 2 feet, doesn't she?
Right.
What else happened?
That was it.
I'm bored with Avengers. So
Yeah,
we're done.
that was it. So they ended on that. Fine. I thought overall, okay, a couple of all right things.
Strong
Final
start,
Fantasy.
tailed off near the end.
Yeah, and they clearly thought that Avengers was going to get a better reception, and I think overall online the reception has been pretty we're a bit worried. On to Nintendo, and we are going to have to go sprightly through this one, guys.
Okay.
Started with Smash reveal, new characters, all from Dragon Quest 11. Don't know what their names are. Don't really know much about Dragon Quest 11.
I wonder if they're all just echo fighters of each other, because it seemed like there were 4 of them.
At least 4.
Yeah. Come for, isn't it?
Well,
we've only just watched it.
I think with a game like Dragon Quest, you're either in or you're out, aren't you?
I'm out.
I think,
wow, am I not surprised?
as you said when we were watching it, odd that they've got yet more characters with swords when you've got all the Fire Emblem characters. Anyway, it is what it is. Doug Bowser came out next.
Oh,
but there was Japes, because Bowser himself, Evil Bowser,
man.
came out first, and he came out and was like, "Oh, I think you're the wrong Bowser." Huh.
Who
as funny as it sounds. In fairness, at least
trying to be Reggie.
He's trying, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's hard to follow in Reggie's
Where'd you go
footsteps.
from there, though? Because surely that's the whole thing they had.
They'll just move on. Hopefully they'll just move on. It's like,
we
get it. He's called Doug
They're
Bowser.
going to do that every single time. It's confusing.
Not you, Bowser.
Then they announced Luigi's Mansion 3 has a 2019 release date. Yes. No actual specific date, but maybe Halloween, I thought.
Looking forward to
maybe
it.
a good chance.
Some gameplay.
It looked cool, yeah. So have anyone else played Luigi's Mansion?
No.
Other than no. How have you got to your age and not played Luigi's Mansion? How is this, Andy?
Well,
how has he got to that age?
Actually, that's a better question.
I'm asking myself that question.
So, unlike the other Luigi's Mansion games, your vacuum poltergust can do extra things this time. So you can slam enemies into other enemies, a bit like you could do in maybe a Streets of Rage game or something like that. You can fire a little suction like arrow out and pull things around as well, which is again different than you could do before. And you can turn Luigi into Gooigi.
Oh, I did like
which is like
Luigi.
a spectral kind of ectoplasmic version of Luigi and get
Who
through.
doesn't want to do that?
The bogey version of it.
Yeah, bogey Luigi.
Mucus Luigi.
Yeah, anyway, there's a joke there somewhere. And they also showed, is it like 8-player maybe multiplayer in this mode called Scare Scraper, where you're going. So the whole thing this time it's set in a hotel rather than a mansion, although it's called Luigi's Mansion. Confusing. And they showed this like endless multiplayer where you're going up levels. I don't know if it's
like a wave-based mode or
up the Scare Scraper. Overall, looked pretty damn good. I wish it had a proper release date because I hope it doesn't slip into next year, but I'm sure it won't. Next, apparently Dark Crystal is coming back. The movie we used to watch as kids, but I didn't. A bit like Labyrinth. It's fell under other people watched it as a kid. I don't think I did.
Well, there's a prequel on Netflix now. Prequel show. So it looked like what kind of Final Fantasy Tactics type thing. Didn't it
was, turn-based strategy.
It was actually called Dark Crystal something or other Tactics.
That was the exact title. Link's Awakening was up next.
Looking forward to this.
So it looked really good. As we were saying during the show, I mean, Link's Awakening is one of the more basic Zeldas. It's still really fun and really good, but I don't feel like it's got the same amount of gameplay there as some of the other Zelda games. They seem to be recognizing that, and they've created this thing called chamber dungeons, that basically like Mario Maker but for Zelda, where you can make your own dungeons and then I guess share them online.
Probably if you've got
could be making that up.
Nintendo Online.
And confirmed that this is coming out on the 20th of September 2019. I don't need to see any more of it. I just need to get the games. I love it. And the rumours were true. We spoke on this on the show, I think, a few episodes ago. Witcher 3 is coming to the Switch. I presumably massively scaled down and not as good looking.
Must be.
But if they're getting Doom Eternal and Wolfenstein Young Bloods to run on the
but they don't
Switch,
run as good as you'd
No.
hope, do they? It's
Yeah.
Anyway,
Some
it's,
witchcraft
it's
there.
great that these games are coming to the Switch. I wish if I was going to play Witcher 3, I'd probably want to play it on a PS4 Pro or something to get all of the extra bells and whistles. But there you go. Then they showed again a very long trailer for Fire Emblem Three Houses, a game I'm very excited for personally, but I don't need to keep seeing these really long story trailers for it. Just get the game out. And then there's a kind of cool spooky house trailer where these two people went into a house. It was all black and white and scary. And they were playing Resident Evil 1, and then it turned out it was just a trailer for Resident Evil 5 and 6, when I thought maybe they were going to be doing like Resident Evil 3 Remastered or something like that. But no.
Very elaborate for those.
Very elaborate.
Yeah. Like, why have you spent money on this?
It was really over the top for what they were announcing. But No More Heroes 3 was then confirmed for 2020. The game, I don't know if anyone's really been shouting for, but there you go. And then they showed a really disappointing, I thought, Contra in like 3D over the shoulder.
Didn't it? It just looked
Contra
top-down type thing. Yeah.
Contra Road Corp.
You want 2D side? I mean, how hard is it? 2D side-scrolling Contra.
Well, the thing is, they have they confirmed the Contra Collection, which I think they said was out now, right?
Yeah.
Which has got all of the better Contra games.
So
Why do you
buy
need that one?
The thing is, they made the top-down 3D Contra on the PlayStation. That's like.
Not good.
It's considered one of the worst Contras,
yeah.
And they've gone. Tell you what would be good.
And it's not just us being loyal to 2D. It really did look bad. The graphics looked bad, and anyway, they then blasted into like 3 quickfire trailers for they're not that quick actually with it, but for Daemon X Machina, confirmed now for the 13th of September 2019. That's the flying around in mechs game fighting against massive.
Looks chaotic.
Crash,
looks
crash,
exciting.
punch,
I
punch,
play
punch,
it.
punch, smash, strike, beep, 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 beep,
Panzer Dragoon, just Panzer Dragoon, no 3 or extra title. Confirmed for winter 2019. It looked, I'd say, a little undercooked at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. We couldn't work out if it was like a remaster or reboot. So originally this was on the Saturn, was it? Panzer Dragoon?
Probably, yeah.
God,
Sounds
yeah,
about
it
right.
must be. It's really old, that game, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, it's got a lot of love for it, that game, so we'll see. It was confirmed for the winter this year, and then they went into Astral Chain, which is Platinum's I don't even know how to describe it really.
Hack and slash
game where you can take over, it looks like, enemies and do weird stuff.
Kind of very, very Platinum gamey, but weird that we didn't see Bayonetta.
Yeah, well, I remember one of the previous Nintendo Directs where they introduced Astral Chain. They then had one of the Bayonetta developers come over and go, "It's still in development."
We're working on it. Yeah.
I guess that's still the case. That Astral Chain was confirmed for the 30th of August, so that's pretty soon. It's good. Then, interesting looking game, Empire of Sin, which was the top-down gangster game.
That looked like the sort of Godfather, but in isometric type
a bit of XCOM maybe.
That looked
looked
good.
alright. So that was confirmed for spring 2020, so at some point in the dim distant future. Then they went and showed a lot of Ultimate Alliance 3, which probably looks like a better Avengers game than Avengers.
The Black Order.
In fairness.
Yeah.
The Black Order, yeah. And then confirmed Cadence of Hyrule, not for today as I thought it would be, but for the 13th of July, so a couple of days.
I thought it was 13th of June.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
to be fair,
June, sorry.
June, yeah.
I did write down June, I just said July because I'm...
Yeah.
So when's that? That's
Crazy.
Well, that'll be when the pod comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but when
Available
this
today.
show goes...
Out now.
Yeah, as we record,
Yeah.
2 days earlier to when it comes out, but yeah. And then Mario and Sonic are going to the Olympics once more.
Yep.
In
Classic.
Tokyo this time, so I suppose that makes perfect
Well,
sense.
They're a bit early.
They are. So September 2019, they'll get there. None of the places will be finished.
If you're like,
They're
come
still
on.
building it. You've got to help build the Olympic Park.
They showed it had skateboarding and
surfing in there.
surfing.
The karate looked like. as
It
well.
looked fine. I mean, the proof of the pudding will be the button mashing, I suppose, won't it? And then the game that everyone predicted for this show, it turned out to be a reality, but not for 2019 like was promised. And they apologised profusely. Animal Crossing New Horizons coming 20th of March 2020. Seemed very Nook heavy. Nook being the shopkeeper who basically gives you a massive mortgage every time you turn into Animal Crossing.
We did get the
it looked like
final-
Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
With multiplayer by the look of it.
Yeah. Bit of a time sink.
I didn't think it was quite as exciting as it should have been. I know there was a lot of hype for, like, everyone was very excited to see what the new Animal Crossing would look like, and I felt like the trailer came across a little underwhelming.
Is it because it was a bit of an apology, really? It's like, we said it was going to be this year, but
I'm not sure if it was quite. It wasn't like Animal Crossing 3 or anything. It was more like another sidestep for the series.
Oh,
I felt
okay.
like I don't know. I've not been on my phone to look at the reaction. I'm sure there's as usual online, a swathe of positive and negative reactions. So
it's like shooting a fish in a barrel. I mean, like you could just chuck that out whenever, and you'll get good response. People love that series, don't they?
yeah, it's got a lot of love for it. And then probably one of my favourite moments of the whole E3 so far, Banjo Kazooie as a Smash character, but revealed with Duck Hunt.
It was a fake out.
Just go and watch it.
It's quite clever,
funny.
though, wasn't
It's funny. So Banjo Kazooie is coming to Smash, I guess, as part of the the pass you have to buy separately, much like Joker from Persona. And then they ended on one more thing.
They Columboed it, didn't they?
Columboed that
Mic drop
the hell out of it, and confirmed, I guess, something that we already knew, really, that Breath of the Wild, a sequel to, mind you, it's not just as next Zelda, it's actually a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, which I suppose is a bit different for Zeldas, actually.
And that's what they said, a proper sequel.
We saw a Hyrule Castle about taking off.
Rocketing out of the ground.
It wasn't zombies, it was just one of the kings waking up or something.
Yeah, it looked really, it looked interesting. Graphics still work for me. Beautiful game.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see. So we compared the two, Majora's Mask, right? So that came out shortly after.
Not Twilight Princess, what's it called? Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, that came out shortly after Ocarina of Time, presumably because they reused all the assets. So I wonder what the map for this is going to look like. Is it still going to be the same map?
I guess so, because they're not saying it's a different Hyrule. So yeah, it'll be the exact same map but darkened. So it looks like Majora's Mask was dark and shadowy, and maybe this game's going to be dark and shadowy because they showed like corruption spreading. So I imagine it'll be very similar, but with like areas
the corruptions
of darkness.
change the landscape,
But then if Hyrule Castle took off, where is it going?
I mean, like
It'll
it's set in
just hover
space.
there.
Like, okay, you're going on these
It's
holidays
wherever
or
Mario
something?
Galaxy is.
Maybe
Those
Hyrule,
weird galaxies.
You're like, hey, Mario.
Hyrule Castle is going to smash into the moon. They flipped it.
Oh, the moon with a big scary face.
Yeah, it's going to the moon.
It's just got a worried face and so.
That was actually a meteorite, was it? In I can't remember now. In Majora's Mask, that's what I was thinking of. But yeah, I mean, it's not really like super surprising in a way that they're working on Breath of the Wild, but a sequel to Breath of the Wild. But yeah, it's cool that they're doing it. No date, obviously.
Yeah,
it's going to be
not even a logo.
2021, not even a logo.
Well,
they got burnt with Metroid Prime 4. I guess the things that weren't there, what people were predicting, Metroid Prime Trilogy Remaster.
Yep.
Obviously no Metroid Prime 4, but we already kind of knew that was going to be the case.
Feels like Mario Kart's getting a bit long in the tooth. I feel like we should have a new Mario Kart soon.
Mario Kart 9 is surely due at some point, but that wasn't here. But then I suppose they've got to have something in their locker to fight against PS5 and Xbox One 2, whatever it's going to be called next year. And then the other thing, of course, a lot of predictions made. No hardware updates.
Oh yeah.
Because there was the rumor of the sort of underpower Switch and the overpower and the more powerful Switch.
Switch Plus.
I wonder whether
Switch Minus.
Switch Plus. I wonder whether that Switch Plus will come with Breath of the Wild.
Maybe, yeah.
The next
Loads
generation.
faster, does more stuff. Yeah.
Probably could still need it, won't they?
Because they did that with the new
times the
3DS.
Zeldas.
It loads a bit faster, and anyway. 1
Mm.
hour and 18 minutes. That's not bad. That's not bad.
We made it. We made it.
That was E3 in a very massive nutshell.
Yes.
Probably the best moment, Keanu Reeves, would you say?
Oh yeah, without doubt.
He is breathtaking. There's no doubt about it.
Let's
Just
face
his
it.
hair.
That's also the game that everyone is excited for. Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
isn't
it does look
It
like
is-
it's actually going to live up to the promises.
Yeah.
I
That will
hope
be
so.
the big game of next year, alongside probably Last of Us 2.
Yes.
You know, so those are two really big hitters.
Early 2020 is looking absolutely nuts.
But some of these are going to move, right?
They have to. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to.
But the thing is, if it was spring 2020 for Cyberpunk, now if the rumors are correct, and
Well, no, it's got an exact date.
It was April, wasn't it? Or
April, was
16th of April, was it? I think sounds
so that's
about
going
right.
to put Last of Us 2 in that. If they say it's going to be spring 2020, that's going to be an interesting one. Whether who blinks first with that one, because those are two big hitters in usually a quiet window.
There's just so many games coming out in that space that I do feel like a lot of them are going to get like put into the summer. We might even find that like next E3 there are big titles like The Last of Us 2. Maybe I think The Last of Us 1 came out just before E3, so they might repeat that trick just to have it. Even The Last of Us probably needs its own space. To properly get the big sales.
But I think Sony have played a blinder here, because ultimately they've gambled that Microsoft didn't have as much as it kind of was suggested, and they kind of gambled right, didn't they? Microsoft hasn't nailed this as much as it was, and its studios and its properties are not at the stage yet to really bang.
Yeah, because they only just bought them, so they don't have all those things yet.
And the fact that Obsidian's got a multi-platform game that's clearly locked into it.
Yeah.
It's and
really
they're open
odd.
with it.
Really
it's
odd,
almost like saying, yeah, we're half-baked, I'm afraid, but still...
But they tried, I guess, the Scarlet announcement to try and mitigate all of that.
Yeah,
it's just
but
like, that's the big thing.
But they're getting hammered on that. You know, it's like, I think it feels like Sony's taken a calculated gamble. We're between console generations. We'll absolutely nail E3 next year. There was an article up on a while ago saying that next E3 potentially is kind of like the make or break for Xbox. You know.
Yeah, definitely, because you've got to think Sony are going to come with sequels to all their big hitters like Horizon, God of War, or whatever. So Microsoft really, I don't know where they go from here. Really, they're going to go, we've got Halo Infinite.
And you know,
but I mean, I know, like, we're not like Sony fanboys, but it just feels like Sony is so powerful in this war between the two.
But they can also
makers.
afford to take a break, whereas Microsoft can't. You know, it's playing catch up, isn't it? And that's the difference, isn't it? Whereas Sony was in that position with the PS3, was very much playing catch up. Now the tables have flipped over, and now it's Microsoft that's playing catch up, and it's not a good place to be when you play.
Tables haven't even turned; they've flipped over.
Yeah.
It's been thrown out the window.
I guess the other takeaway is no gameplay at this E3.
No.
So many games. In fact, it's basically only Final Fantasy and Watch Dogs had a decent amount of gameplay shown of the big hitters, really, I think.
But they were games. Some of the games were out soon.
Which, like Avengers, really weird. They didn't show any. Anyway, that struck me as odd. And the other thing, I guess, is because the next generation has yet to be shown, as in the Xbox Scarlet and the PS5, no one can show gameplay because you don't want to show what the graphics are like yet. So they're in this weird like limbo, and I guess Sony knew that, which is why they went, we can't show anything.
Are we assuming that PS5 is holiday 2020 as well?
Well, yeah, it must be, mustn't it? Yeah, it's got to be. They can't really afford, even Sony, because they messed up with the PS3, didn't they? They came in after the Xbox 360, and that's what let 360 get ahead.
Maybe they'll try and get in there before Xbox.
Well, imagine if the next announcement now is PS5 out April.
Yeah. I mean, that would be an absolute masterstroke, wouldn't it? You know, alongside Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, like suddenly like, ooh, okay.
Well, they've clearly got the working box because they demoed it to the journalists. I can't remember where it was now. So they've clearly got a working prototype. It's just how quick they can mass produce that, really, I suppose. And then Xbox might be a more powerful machine again, like the Xbox One X, but I don't know if that will matter because it'll still be powerful enough.
Or Stadia's going to come in and wipe the floor with everything.
Somehow I can't even. It's not even on my radar.
It's not. You're not even. Okay.
And also, what are Xbox going to call it? Are they going to call it Xbox 2?
The X2.
The Nextbox?
It's like X-Men 2.
The Xbox 2 all-disc digital Game Pass streaming cloud
deluxe
by XL for the next 10 years, and when Microsoft 365.
That's what they should call it, the XL.
Yeah, the Microsoft cloud productivity.
Anyway, let's wrap up, shall we? Because we need to get out of here at some point. All right, we're going to go and chat about E3 some more in a darkened room somewhere in Oliver.
I'm going to lie down, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, you're braver men than us and women.
Yeah, a world record for making it this far.
That was a marathon, though. Ooh, speaking of world records, but yeah.
That's good.
You can watch our previous shows. We won't be back for 2 weeks because we've become a fortnightly show, as we keep saying. So feel free to dive into our old shows where we've been talking big records and the latest games every week for the last, I think this is episode 24, right? So quite a long time.
Yeah, 24.
Check us out on Twitter, on GWR, at GWR Gamers, and you can find all of our content just by Googling Guinness World Records Gamers Podcast. You'll find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, basically.
It's all there.
It's all there in the web.
MySpace.
Probably MySpace. But yeah, until in 2 weeks' time, thanks for watching and take it easy.
Goodbye.
Bye.